This is a Wild Age Production podcast.
You remember.
Roll your stealth roll?
Game books, pencils, pizza, cheese puffs, and a hell of a lot of dice.
And the Dragon Ball Cup.
Roll for Initiative. This is the Roll for Initiative podcast, where 1E is the place to be.
This is the Roll for Initiative podcast. This is Volume 9. Oh, no, we're in Volume 10, aren't we, guys? Yeah.
Volume 10.
Yeah,
Volume
that's right. 10 years on the air. I'm Vince, and I'm sitting with Matt.
Hello, everyone.
And Nick.
Hello, everybody.
We are broadcasting live from Greyhawk. No, I'm kidding. And we're going to be broadcasting from our Crystal Castle.
Yeah, I wish we were broadcasting from Greyhawk. That'd be kicking.
Yeah, well, we're in a Crystal Castle, so.
Hey. That's just as cool.
Yeah, just as cool. Anyway, we're back with a brand new show for 2019. We're finally back for the year, folks. Hopefully everybody is enjoying their new year and waiting for a show, because I know a lot of people were waiting for our show because we've been silent for a little while after our Christmas specials. But yes, we're back. And this week we're going to focus a little bit on something some people have requested in the past. And we haven't fulfilled, but we'll fulfill it now. It only took us 10 years, but...
Sex and D&D.
No.
Wasn't that the running gag in Phil and Dixie?
Yeah, I think that was, No, we're actually going to talk about Greyhawk. We're going to do a little bit of a Greyhawk primer for people who are brand new to the Greyhawk, and some people that are old to the Greyhawk will get some good information out of this, possibly. We have some information for the beginners, the experience. Nick has some trivia. Matt has some tips. We have some ideas for the new folks, yada, yada, yada.
Stuff.
It's wild and crazy.
Yes, it's crazy. It's wow.
There we go. That's what I was waiting for.
Castle Greyhawk.
So first,
Wow.
Yeah. So first thing you want to talk about for Greyhawk is what should you consider before running a Greyhawk campaign, and that's kind of easy and difficult all at the same time because there's so much. This is not 1985 anymore, or 1983, or whatever, 1979. There's so much.
Talking like what's considered canon,
right?
Yeah.
There is so much material out there, and it's easily accessible by the internet now at this point, and you can just get what you need. But
that damn internet.
Yeah, that damn internet, damn kids on my damn lawn. If you want to stay true, like a lot of people I know that play first edition, and maybe just my opinion of looking at people, and you guys can back me up on this, like to stay true to the first edition era of things, and they like to keep the whole, like, Gygax is Gygax's baby, so they only will use things available that were made or approved by Gygax at the time.
Right.
It seems like people that play first edition and love first edition kind of stick by that rule. Now, I may be wrong, and if I am, I don't care, but people generally stick to that. I know me personally, and the people that I play with, when they play first edition, they stick with what is first edition. You know, OSR stuff, put to the side because we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about pure Gary and pure 1E.
Mm-hmm.
So what can we look at? Do we look at just Gary's works? I think so, yes. That's the first thing we need to do is look for Gary's works. Do we want to include stuff that was after Gary? Now, that is kind of up to you as a DM if you
That's
really want
debatable,
to.
isn't
Yeah.
it?
It really, you're not sure if you want to. But, I mean, do you want to look at From the Ashes or the Greyhawk Wars or things like that? No, because they were 2E. You probably don't want to look at that stuff if you're...
Yeah, also you have the, what was it, the...
Greyhawk Adventures book was post-Gary as well.
Yeah.
Right. That's lack of a better term, that falls into a bit of a gray area.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little later, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also, don't forget about the Castle Greyhawk box set.
Yes, that's correct.
There's that too.
And the folio, of course.
Well, you have the 1980 folio, and you have the 83 box set. Okay.
But then there was
You
also
also
the
have
City of Greyhawk for second edition.
That's
as well.
that's what I meant. The City of Greyhawk
Okay.
box set. And there was a Greyhawk Ruins module, and then there was a Castle Greyhawk module, which was a travesty.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Greyhawk even made it into third edition with the Living Greyhawk.
Yes, Living Greyhawk campaign. But that's way beyond our...
Yeah, that's like
Right.
well beyond OSR, even touching. That's going into the new edition era things. And
Yeah.
though Gygax supposedly read over that stuff and approved it, as I've been hearing, but I don't really think I think he just kind of was just like, at this point, going meh. So...
Yeah, it wasn't his anymore, unfortunately.
I mean, but there was this whole thing. I remember when 3E came out at the time that Gary was not really into it, so they went to Dave instead to get the approval thumbs up from. So that's why a lot of the books had that little, Dave Arneson approves 3E, things like that on it.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that? Because it was kind of Gygax was kind of like meh on it, and then Dave was like, "Hey, this ain't bad. I'll move on with the times."
Yeah.
Right.
So they're like, "Oh, cool, we got an approval from one of the original guys. So yeah, let's stamp it." I don't blame them. I mean, whatever. But anyway, so some modules you could consider reading or running if you want to run your own campaign as opposed to homebrew, or you want to
just kind of kick it off, right?
Yeah, you want to read T1, The Village of Hamlet, and U1, Sinister Secret of Salt Marsh, yeah. And then the N1 module against the Cult of the Reptile God.
Which, if I remember correctly, all three have been reviewed on Blackstone's Vault way back in the day.
I think we may have done one of those as a show review. I don't remember correctly, but I
think Village of Hamlet, we might have done that as in conjunction with the whole Temple of Elemental Evil.
Which is a hell of a module itself, so...
Yes, absolutely. And it has a whole bunch of World of Greyhawk lore just surrounding that super module alone.
We also have a bunch of official Greyhawk novels for the time frame that were written. Some of them were written by Gygax. Some of them were written by Rose. Is that Estes? I think the last name is?
Yeah.
I've never read the modules, the books, except for The Quag Keep and the Saga of the Old City.
You've read Quag Keep?
Yeah.
Lucky. I've been trying to look for that.
Yeah.
You can find the books online. Anyway.
Yeah, I know.
I found my copies
internet.
of some of these books at thrift stores.
Yeah,
So-
a lot of places have these books that I'm going to name off in a minute that you could probably get for less than $1.
Yeah.
Cheap.
Get your half-price books.
If you don't have a half-price books that's called Books A Million, you probably have that. If you don't have Books A Million, then you should have luck. I don't know what to tell you.
Go to Amazon's.
Yes,
Go to
Amazon. Give Jeff
eBay.
Bezos money.
Do that Amazon thing.
You must be fulfilled from Jeff Bezos. So people who watch South Park will get that reference. So we have in 1978 we have the Quag Keep by Andre Norton, and we have the Saga of Old City by Gary Gygax from 86, the Artifact of Evil by Gygax in 86 again, Master of Wolf by Rose Estes, who started writing the books after Gary in 1986. I think at this point Gary may no longer, well, I think this is during the time frame he was starting to leave.
I think he was already out by 86.
Yeah. Then we have a few more.
Left in 86.
He left in 86? Okay, yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
We have a few more books written from 87 to 89. The Prince of Power, The Demon Hand, The Name of the Game, and The Eyes Have It, which you can reference, but it's really not Gygax material. But you still can look up a series of books called Gord the Rogue, which Gary wrote himself, which pretty much is Greyhawk. So
Yeah. He's changed some names slightly here and there, but you could tell.
Greyhawk with the serial numbers filed off. How do we call that?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much.
And there's also, you can reference Dragon Magazine 100, a short story by Gygax, a Moonset Black Cat Comes, which is an article of a short story you can read that tells you a little bit more about some of Greyhawk history.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that you can start looking at. Now, if you want to do some more research, you can definitely go to canonfire.com. Have you guys ever been to that website?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Lots.
It's a wonderful website. It has everything Greyhawk. And basically, their motto is, editions change and Greyhawk lives on forever or something.
Would you say they had a plethora of information, senor?
Yeah, they have a plethora of information, senor.
What is a plethora?
A lot. So they have so much information there that you can research, and you don't even have to leave that website because it has so much valuable information about Greyhawk, and it has everything cataloged between first, second, third, stuff made up for fourth and fifth. So it's up to you how far you want to go. There's a lot of fan stuff on there. So if you really want to get some more information, fill in some gaps.
Yeah, and they even have separate, I think, forums for each edition, right?
Yeah, they do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And what I found interesting is they compiled like the best of Greyhawk, which is actually the old AOL message board from the mid 90s on Greyhawk, which you can find some really interesting tidbits from the TSR employees posting in that.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Why do we think Greyhawk did not make it? And why did Greyhawk not endure to the latest editions? Why didn't it go into 4E? Why didn't it go into 5E? What do you guys think about that?
God, that is a good question. There is such a huge. Well, I'm sorry. You want to go ahead, Matt?
Yeah, I would say first off, they made the transition. They had Forgotten Realms. They owned outright. I mean, they owned Greyhawk. TSR owned Greyhawk, but when they transitioned to second edition, Forgotten Realms kind of became the focus more so.
Yeah.
I think in part because they just kind of wanted to wipe away Gary. Because of how everything left. So it's like, how do you have a Castle Zygag and not acknowledge Gary Gygax?
Yeah, I don't
you can't
have that.
I mean, there's all of that, and a lot of the main names of your Bigsbys, your Ottos, your Melvs, your Mordengadens, those were all characters from Gary's home game.
Mm-hmm.
You can't Greyhawk and Gary Gygax are synonymous. So if you're trying to wash away Gary Gygax, you have to wash away Greyhawk. And then, so they start flooding the market with, hey, we got Forgotten Realms. We have Ed Greenwood here who has this amazingly deep fantasy world that's different than Greyhawk. Let's run with this and make product. And then people embrace that. So that's what they grew up on. So roll to new editions. That's kind of what they stuck with.
You would think with 5th edition trying to get back to capture the audience that they lost during 4th edition, that you would think, because their whole push for the old school to get back with the new school and bridge the gap and everything, that Greyhawk would have been their setting to do the bridging.
The thing is, Forgotten Realms was so popular because it went 3rd, it went 4th, it went 2nd. 3 editions right there, Forgotten Realms.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that little beginning period of 3.0 where Greyhawk was kind of floating around, it was Forgotten Realms was the thing. So that's, I think, what more players have that attachment to is the Forgotten Realms at this point.
Well, we had Living Greyhawk, like Nick had said earlier, for 3rd edition, so it's not like it wasn't dead. It was there.
It was there, but it wasn't the focus, and it switched to Living Forgotten Realms.
But also, if you look at Living Greyhawk, was that really something that was pushed by Wizards of the Coast, or was that fan driven? It was fan.
Thought it was official material.
It was official,
but who was really running the show on those things?
The community.
I mean, the community. That's what it was.
Well, wasn't it part of what was left of the RPGA at that point?
Yes.
I don't even think it called it that. I think
when
it was
the
something
RPGA else. Fell apart in the late 90s. But to go along with Matt, I wholeheartedly agree. It was a way of trying to expunge Gygax's name from the record, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, they look at like all the names of certain spells, certain magic items. I mean, over time, those things were changed. They were anything that had an attachment to Gary's world that he created was eventually morphed into something else. And along with Forgotten Realms just being the new campaign setting, there was even before that where he had Dragonlance. And Dragonlance was the whole idea of a multi-marketing scheme, not just a game world, but books. And you had
comic books.
There was the comic books.
You had the comic series. You also had the short stories.
Modules.
you had all those modules that tied into the books, and I don't care how which way you argue it, it was railroady as all get out.
Yeah, I think everybody mostly agrees that those modules were very railroady, and it took a lot of adjusting for a good DM to figure out how to play that with your group without force feeding them the adventure.
They never appealed to me. I got to say, overall, Dragonlance never really appealed to me. I was always...
I get it.
I always liked the campaign setting of World of Greyhawk, and I think a lesser degree to Forgotten Realms, while it was still first edition. But, it was all about the multi-pronged aspect of Forgotten Realms later on, because there was all the books and all the other merchandise involved with it. And I think in a way where if you look at the time and when Gary's stuff started coming out, I think of it is his kind of way of saying, hey, I can merchandise too. My game world is not dead. It was going on right at that time where Dragonlance and Forgotten Realms came out in 87. I remember that vividly. So it was like right in that time where, Dragonlance is really taking hold, and then he knew that he was on his way out, but I think it was kind of his way of trying to say, you know what? I have stories to tell here, and I could tie this in one way or another to my campaign setting to keep it alive. And I mean, that's my opinion, but
no, yeah, it's valid. Out of all the novels for Greyhawk, Nick, how many of them did you actually read through?
I had the first two, Saga of Old City and Artifact of Evil. I don't think I ever got the ones by Estes.
Yeah.
I don't
know many people that actually...
Nor did I read any of the Gord the Rogue ones. I don't have any of those.
Do you think those two modules, do you think those two books actually hold up to this day? If you wanted someone new to go out to the store and say, go pick it up and read it, do you think a new gamer would read it and be interested in it, or it's dated writing at this point?
I haven't read them in such a long time.
I want to say that I loved the first book a lot, but
I did too. I do remember that. Yeah.
It's very Gygaxian written, and to the point that I don't think I could possibly read it again at this point in life.
Lot of purple prose. To coin a term.
Yeah.
So it's like reading The Hobbit?
Well, I like The Hobbit. No, I like The Hobbit, but I don't know. I can't read The Hobbit either, but that's just me. I just,
now, what about Quag Keep, since you've read that? What do you think of that one?
I think the way it's written, it's quality, but I'm trying to think because I haven't looked at it in a really long time. And I know
Andre Norton wrote a sequel to that, Return to Quag Keep.
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, there is a sequel. I remember.
Oh, there is?
Huh. Yeah.
When did that come out?
Oh.
Matt, you're our Google person. But while he's doing that, I didn't realize there was a thing. But anyway, that book, I think, for a new gamer...
2006.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll pick that up.
I remember seeing it somewhere. I'm like, I gotta read this.
For some reason, books, for me... Now, this is just my opinion, no one else's opinion. You can go, meh, I hate Vince's opinion. But this is my opinion.
Meh, I hate Vince's opinion. Oh.
Screw you. I'll go home. Screw you guys. For me, books that were written pre-2000 read different than books written post-2000. I don't know what it is exactly about the books. It just seems to me the books are written in a different tone, and I find a lot of the books that are written before 2000 very boring now in life. I don't know why.
George R. Martin.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I blame Game of Thrones.
I really only read the first Game of Thrones books and didn't like it. Sorry.
Oh, no, I don't think I've ever read it.
It was the most depressing book ever.
Yeah.
But anyway, books post-2000, it's kind of like TV shows for me. A lot of the TV shows that were done in the 90s that were considered action or adventure compared to the post-2000, and movies are the same way, seem dull now. And I'm thinking that's just the style that we're so used to now.
Yeah, there might be a bit of nostalgia involved with that as well.
Yeah. Well, with me, I find a lot of the newer TV shows unwatchable.
Oh, okay.
I can't watch television anymore because, like, in the early to mid 2000s, I kind of stopped
Ladies
watching
and gentlemen,
television.
we're going on a tangent here, but
Yeah, so
no,
just a quick
this is it's actually relevant, but go ahead.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
basically,
yeah.
I stopped watching television in the early to mid 2000s and just never really got back into it, to the point where, like, when me and my soon-to-be ex-wife would watch television, I would just be like, what is this crap?
Yeah.
What is these weird camera cuts? It's like, if you don't follow along with the transition in television, and you just jump into it, it's very jarring. Like think of how a 90s sitcom was shot, not watch television for 10 years, then watch how The Office is shot. You'll be like, where's the soundstage, the laugh track? Why is their camera shaky?
Yeah, I agree. A lot of that's, and a lot of it is quality. It just, thank God for the internet, and that's where
it has to do with a lot.
And YouTube has done a really good job with some series.
We went from a whole nation that enjoyed what Matt was saying to a nation that enjoyed virtual reality, reality TV. So a lot of all the sitcoms became kind of a reality-based camera shooting style,
right?
Because everybody was into that, and they wanted to mimic that as much as possible. So, but I mean, there's some things that really hold up well, and some things that don't. But that book,
and
back to the books. I would say a new person, if they really are into books and reading, will have a good time reading it, and they don't care. If there's just someone that wants to read and is a part-time reader, like myself, I'm not really a major reader myself, they probably won't like it. That's what I'm going to say. That. What do you think about that?
That sounds fair. That sounds pretty fair.
I mean, at this point, if I were to go back and read these, I'm reading them because they're Dungeons and Dragons related books, and I'm going for that history to get that perspective more so than just reading for the story.
Right.
So I remember those two books were cool because they had stats for, like, there was a demon that was in one of those books. It was an artifact of evil. There was you statted out the demon that was in it. Like, ooh, cool. I'm just gonna get the book for that.
Yeah.
It was anything that pretty much I remember. If it had Gygax's name on it, I'm like, I want it.
Well, yeah,
I'm such a fanboy. I mean, I guess I'm an purist in some regards, but I mean, then there are that I'm not. I mean, when we were talking about like what's canon and what's not. I mean, when I was for a few years up until recently, I was running my Castle Greyhawk game, right? I mentioned from time to time on the show, and I used the folio and the 83 box set, but I also used the City of Greyhawk box set because when I revisited that, if you read through it, you could tell, you know what, this was actually written for first edition, even though it has a second edition, stat blocks. The style from what I've read, I'm comparing it with like Temple of Elemental Evil. When I'm looking, I'm like, this isn't much different, really.
Well, you have to remember it was written by some of the same people that just transitioned over to the new edition.
Right.
So,
and it was still relatively early. I think that came out in 90.
Yeah.
So that I would gather was probably in the works, at least for a couple of years.
It might have been a project that was sitting around that they didn't put forward, and since Gygax wasn't around, and Warren was the one in charge, she might have been, put it to the side.
And some people, I put Greyhawk Adventures in that hardbound book in the same sort of category for me. I mean, there are some things in there that I like. I like some of the new spells and the new magic items. For me, it works. It was right on the cusp between first and second edition, because it says that on the book. It's first and second edition compatible. I use it for whatever purposes I feel like it fits in with my campaign. So
it was one of those books that they wrote, and they're just like, the first edition fans are still here, so let's slap that "can use" with one E on it as well, so we can keep them and not make them angry.
Mm-hmm. And I bought it, and I have it, and I like using it. And
it's a good resource.
From the Ashes and Greyhawk Wars, I don't know. I mean, I don't have either one of them. I can't make a call on them on either one of those.
I don't have either one of them either. I'm looking at my shelf here. No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, it's just.
I think it was because after that point, I'm like, oh, Gary's not with he didn't really have a hand in this. It's not. I don't know. They just never really jumped out at me.
The only ones that I have from second edition was Birthright, and when Matt got me the Spelljammer box. Remember that, Matt? You found it at
yes, yeah.
Because I love Spelljammer.
And I think From the Ashes and Greyhawk Wars, all that was like. It seemed like those, to me, were like afterthoughts. Because there was such a push for Forgotten Realms at that time in the early 90s.
Right. It was Forgotten Realms, then Ravenloft. It was like,
look, we got this. We got this splat book here and here and here and here. Oh, here's from the Ashes here. Here you go.
Yeah, I know.
So,
I mean, I have a couple things from Chewy, but a lot of the box sets I didn't care for. I mean,
yeah.
Hollow World I got at the time when I was playing Classic because it's Hollow World. Because who does what kid doesn't like dinosaurs? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Right.
Nick, you loved it.
I like Forgotten Realms. I like the 1E Forgotten Realms. I think it's great. But when it got the second edition and it just got so interwoven into the books, and we've talked about this, it just seemed like you had these Forgotten Realms, people who were like, they were like the owner of the comic book store. It's like, that's not canon. That doesn't fit in with the latest Ed Greenwood book.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Well, you have to remember, Forgotten Realms is actually older than Greyhawk. Forgotten Realms goes back to the late 60s. From when Ed Greenwood first started writing notes and things about this world.
Ed Greenwood says a lot of things.
Yeah.
Okay. Take it with a grain of salt. Yeah.
Roll for Initiative does not condone the comments by DM Nick.
I'm just saying.
Maybe one day I'll dig up that clip of what Crispy said about Ed Greenwood.
Oh,
I'm just saying. There's a lot of things that he says.
It doesn't matter because it wasn't an official setting until it became a TSR setting. So it doesn't matter.
If anything, the one that was actually officially the oldest was Blackmore.
Yeah, Blackmore.
Yeah. Which had its own little niche in World of Greyhawk. There's the far north.
Right.
You have the I don't want to say a kingdom. Is it a duchy or a
duchy? It's like a kingdom, and you have to wonder, was that a little dig, considering everything?
No, I don't think it was. From what I understand, I don't think it was, because from when I've read about Arneson and Gary, it's like, yeah, they've had their differences, but no, that was already incorporated into to his game world well before they had their little split.
Okay.
Yeah, he was pretty much backing off at that point as far as when all this material started coming out. He was still around, but he was backing off of everything a lot. So
yeah, he was.
All right.
I mean, Arneson got his settlement of an undisclosed amount, so there you go.
Of undisclosed small unmarked bills.
in ones and fives?
Yes. So let's head over, and Nick, you have some trivia that you had dug up for us about Greyhawk. Why don't you start nailing us with that trivia, buddy?
And this is some of the stuff I love. And we had some research, not just by me, but some other folks that are involved with this. And we keep one thing, we always keep on referring it to as the World of Greyhawk, as we know that's the city, right? Mm-hmm. But the real name of the campaign world is, now it's spelled OERF. Now, how is it pronounced? Some people say Orith. I've heard it pronounced Orth.
Yeah, Oith, things like that.
Oith. I've heard it pronounced like Oith, like it had a Brooklyn accent, like Oith, on the continent of Orik. O-E-R-I-K. And it's portion of the continent, eastern portion known as the Flanays. I believe that's how it's pronounced. Flanays. F-L-A-N.
Oh, I've always pronounced that Flannis.
Yeah,
it might be Flannis, because if you get into the to the books themselves, particularly the 83 box set, and I think the folio too, where they talk about the migrations of the different races of the Salois, the Flan, the Bakloosh, I think they're pronounced. I know I might be.
The first time I heard Flanus pronounced was by Monty Cook, so I just went
It's
with
pronounced
it.
like the Mexican dessert.
Flanus?
Flan. It's flan.
It's a flan? Oh, okay.
It's a flan.
Flanus? Is that what you're saying?
I thought it was pronounced flanaise. That portion of the continent.
Yeah, like I said, I heard it from Monty Cook, Flanus, so, I just went
It
with
might be
that.
Flanus. I'm good with that.
Not saying he's
But they
the
talk-
authority, but he's the only person I heard it actually say it
Hey.
as far as Watsy-wise.
I'll go with what Monty says.
Good old
I'm
Monty.
good with that. Because they tell with all them. I always thought it was interesting, like all about the history, the migrations between, the Flan, the Oridians, who else? With the Sewell, and the Bakloosh,
Yeah.
the Backloonish. And how they migrated across the continent and how they interwine. And I actually made that part of my campaign, but I always thought that was, determining your racial heritage, and you get certain bonuses for like human racial heritage. But anyway, so there's some trivia, I guess, also with how Castle Greyhawk got its name. It's actually Greyhawk got its name from Chief Blackhawk. He was the leader of the Fox and Sauk tribes around Illinois and Wisconsin.
Oh,
So
okay.
Chief Blackhawk, he thought it would be a nice tribute to Chief Blackhawk by calling the place Greyhawk.
Did Chief Black,
And
was he aware of this, or did he not know?
no, Chief Greyhawk, no, he no live, he die.
Oh, so he no play is what you're saying.
No, Chief Blackhawk, him dead.
Long time?
Now me, yes, him die many year ago. Now I'm talk like Tonto.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Kimosabi. But you thought it was be a cool
a tribute. Yeah, I got it.
a tribute to Chief Blackhawk. Also, another interesting thing I forgot about from the original Gorg the Road novels, that he destroyed the world.
Yeah.
Gary wrote it at the end, and his final novel that he did, Dance with Demons, he destroyed the entire world of Orth or Oith.
Oith. Yeah.
He destroyed all of Oith. Oh my freaking god!
I always remember it as Oith because DM
Yes.
Glenn of Thakos Hammer always does that, his Brooklyn accent when he says it. He goes, it's Oith.
It's Oith.
Yeah.
As a once wise man said, Oith.
Yeah.
So in other words,
Yes.
Earth with an accent.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, pretty
pretty
much.
much how,
Here you go. Yeah. Now, one of the cool things I found out also later on when it comes to Greyhawk lore and trivia is, and personally, I kind of, this is semi-canon in my opinion, is the Castle Mad Archmage that I used for my Castle Greyhawk campaign, written by Joe Block.
Yeah.
The pre-published version, when it was in playtest and when it was free.
Oh, the free. Okay, yeah.
The free, I don't even know if you could find it anymore out there on the internet. The free version, I know he has his that's been converted to Pathfinder and used with his Adventures Dark and Deep, his game system, which is great too. But when I remember years ago when he was first writing this up, Joe did a tremendous amount of research on Castle Greyhawk and all the inner nuances of all the different lore and legends and all the little things that could pop up that are associated with Castle Greyhawk and eventually become part of the larger world's lore.
Yeah.
Just a few things, because I don't want to give too many. If you do use it, and it does have little author's notes within each section.
Well,
saying
spoiler alert, if you haven't looked at it now, stop and go find it or just listen.
Yeah. So, and it does say, at least in the free version that was out there for a while, it would say author's note, and this is where Joe found this information from, tied into the lore of the castle and to the larger world.
Oh, okay.
Like, for example, there's an ape statue that you may run into in Castle Greyhawk that could possibly teleport you to the Isle of the Ape, which is module WG6, Isle of the Ape, where you pretty much run into King Kong.
Yikes! I don't want that.
There's also another place where you go along a dungeon hallway and you find this looks like a miniature city in a bottle, and that's exactly what it is. And Gary Coons had his City in a Bottle campaign was built around that. And because Coons ran Castle Greyhawk in conjunction with Gary, that was they co-DM'd it, and that was part of his contribution to Castle Greyhawk was his City in a Bottle, and that was released later on. I would say about 10 years ago, 10 years ago, under when he had Pied Piper Publishing. If you could find that City in a Bottle like supplement, it's a hard one to find, but it's worth getting. So, how many of you guys are familiar with the, Giant series? I mean, who isn't familiar with Against the Giants, right?
Yep.
The evil dwarf Obmi, he's an actual recurring villain that they first met in Castle Greyhawk. And then he appeared again in Against the Giants, So that evil dwarf Obmi, he's a reoccurring villain that he first appeared in Castle Greyhawk and then eventually was part of Hall of the Fire Giant King. So you have a dead-end tunnel that teleports you to Gamma World. So, and I think there's another one where it also teleports you possibly to Boot Hill, but I know there's one that teleports you to Gamma World. And as everybody knows, Gary loved to mix genres.
Yeah.
With science fiction and everything, and this was one of those occurrences where it does happen. I've always considered later on that it's almost seemed like the world of Greyhawk seemed somewhat post-apocalyptic in a way, in some fashion. There was also, I thought this was interesting. There's an out-of-the-way corridor in one of the deeper levels where you find out of the way in this end part of a corridor at the end, you find a portable hole. And this was the original first portable hole in D&D. It was the first occurrence of it ever. Another little bit of trivia, the quote unquote living room. Go into this, there's this room in the dungeon where you go into it and it's furnished with tables, chairs, couches, and everything. And all the furniture comes alive and attacks you. And that was done by Kuntz later on too. Rob Kuntz under Pied Piper Publishing, the living room.
Yeah.
And I think one of the coolest ones was the Great Stone Face. There's a 4-way corridor somewhere deep in the bowels of Castle Greyhawk where there's a giant Easter Island type face covered with enigmatic runes.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody knows what the runes or what the statue means to this very day. It's just there. And it's just really up to the DM to decide if there's like a mystery behind it or not. Or if it's just something weird. Some things just need to remain a mystery,
Yeah.
And that's just some of the stuff that Joe found out kind of tied into Castle Greyhawk and eventually become part of the larger part of the world, like, with Omni, the portable hole, becoming part of D&D, stuff like that. There's so much other little bits and pieces about Greyhawk lore, and it seems to be tied mostly to the modules, not necessarily to the box set itself.
Right.
But like the adventures, like Temple of Elemental Evil. There's a whole bunch of lore surrounding that. Just off the top of my head, that it was that Lolth wasn't necessarily going to be, I think, part. How Village of Hamlet, where the one guy who worships Lolth, how's that time in with Temple of Elemental Evil? So there was some misjudgment there. Gary's original intention was to have Lolth involved with the Temple of Elemental Evil, but somehow that got kind of lost later on. There are some other things about the Temple of Elemental Evil. Well, I know there's a lot of addendums, like stuff that were misprinted, but yeah, there's you plenty of searches out there on the internet. There's some pretty interesting bits of Greyhawk lore that if Gary didn't, bring up, but people who played in the Greyhawk campaign may have said, here and there. So,
all right.
So that's little bits of trivia for you folks.
So what books should we have, or material should we have, Matt?
Well, there's 3 basic pieces that I think are the main focus when it comes to the AD&D First Edition. I mean, you have the original folio from 1980, then you also have the box set from 83, and then you got Greyhawk Adventures from 88. Those are the 3 main things, not counting the modules. With the folio, it's like a quick little introduction. You also get the sweet map that everyone, I'm sure, knows what it looks like. But it's the box set, I think, that really fleshes it out to where if you're looking to start your Greyhawk game, you want to go with it. Because it has the 2 books, it has the guide and the glossography. And those, combined with the map, really give you what you need to start. Greyhawk Adventures, as Jim Ward put in the introduction of the book, if you're new to Greyhawk, you may find parts of this book confusing because it was meant to be a supplemental product. It was not meant to be it was not meant for you to have just that book and run a campaign. You were meant to have also one of the box sets for folio and use that as supplemental information,
which was very misleading to a lot of people because
I never got that.
Never got what?
I never thought that was like a whole separate thing. I was assumed it was a supplement. I think it even says it in the book somewhere.
Yeah, it does. I mean, when you read the introduction, he specifically says this is not for the new person to Greyhawk. This is
a supplement to the box set.
Right. But I think a lot of people saw, hey, it's a book. It's got an orange spine. It goes in my set. Whereas the modules and box sets were more of the optional purchases. So I think a lot of people were thinking, I could, like how you could run Oriental Adventures out of just the book.
Right.
Why wouldn't you be able to run Greyhawk Adventures out of the book?
Well, you can't blame for people being, they're just being stupid. Sorry.
Well, but so those are the 3 things. But yeah, the box set's where you want to go.
Yeah.
And then as I was going through this, I actually found on Cannon Fire, if you want to just break down what a Greyhawk adventure is and the themes of it, Roger Moore posted on the AOL Greyhawk forums
James
many
Bond?
years ago.
Oh.
Not that Roger Moore.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Maybe
the one
it
that used to
was.
be editor for Dragon Magazine.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Sorry.
The guy, if you try to get in contact, doesn't want to have anything to do with the gaming world anymore. That one.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
I've heard that about him. He just he has people try to want to contact him for interviews, and he's like, nope, don't want to talk about that. That's my past done.
Yeah, he doesn't do the con circuit or anything at this point.
At least.
Yeah, but back in the day, though, he was active on those forums.
Yeah.
And if you go through the best of Greyhawk postings, on Cannon Fire, they compiled a lot of his old posts and a lot of other TSR employees' posts. But the one I'm interested in most is from the very first issue of the Best of Greyhawk. He talks about, if you look at the different module series, A1, A series, the T series, the EX, the S, and the WG, and break what are the themes of these. The first one, they're all about dungeons and sneaking through underground complexes and taking valuables and killing monsters.
Yep. Kill monsters, take their stuff, wash,
Yeah.
rinse.
And then also, all these have nothing is as of it seems either. There's always a mystery when you first glance at it, like the village of Hamlet. Oh, it's a little village. Oh, wait, there's some really spooky stuff going on when you look a little deeper.
Jinkies.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, Reggie.
And then the build off that, he's like, secrets are paramount in Earth. I mean, it's like mystery is everywhere. Temple of Elemental Evil, mystery. Tube of Horrors, that is a giant mystery. I mean, everything has mysteries. The Slaver modules, it's all about the misdirection and trying to figure out what's truly going on.
Yep.
And then, as Nick mentioned earlier about all the teleportation to different places, pocket universes. He actually says many of the early modules have a preoccupation with them. Which is, I mean, the G series modules are linked by teleporters. Q1 has gates, like the Isle of the Ape is a pocket universe that you brought up earlier.
Well, Q1 is one of the planes of hell run by
the EX series and the S4 pocket universe. You got pocket universes everywhere. And then he even brings up, you can go to the Wild Gamma World and Boot Hill as well.
Mm-hmm.
Pocket universe going elsewhere. That's Greyhawk 2.
I love how he brought up the. I'm sorry, but when he, because I read this, and when you found this and I read this, I'm like, wow, spot on right there. Because I remember the articles in Dragon Magazine when they had about the quasi deities.
Oh yeah.
And he brought up Merlin. What's the thing about Merlin? He's basically like John frickin' Wayne. He's got 6 shooters. It's like, who is this guy?
Yep. And then also, there's a lot of devious traps, like vile monsters and unsuspected discoveries about who's really the boss. It's more that mystery, the hidden. The villains always will have like a personality, and they're usually not. When you first go into adventure, you don't know who the big bad necessarily is. You would figure it out as you go through it. You think one person this is what's causing it. Oh no, it's something else. You start investigating some like thieves, and all of a sudden you're like, oh no, this is going into some weird cult stuff. What's going on here?
Yeah.
And then things are always clearly in black and white, good and evil. Shades of gray, no. You are black. You don't have the empathetic goblins. No, you kill them.
Right.
And then the magical devices in Greyhawk, they don't have backstories.
For the most part, unless they're artifacts.
Right. For the most part, it's just like, oh, it's a +3 sword. That's all. You don't need to have, how did this come to exist? Don't care that it exists. Move along.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
There's history elsewhere in the world. It's not hung up in the magic items.
I think this next one is probably the big one that kind of...
Yes. Evil is on the rise. Think about every one of the module series. What happens? It's escalation of dark forces getting bigger and darker, and you got to stop them.
You know what also? And it didn't take me... And I did not put... I didn't get 2 and 2 put together and got 4 out of that until years later. If you read the timeline of the box series and and you read through the history cuts off right before basically you hear about the Temple of Elemental Evil.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they talk about the Battle of Emerald Meadows, the first battle against Zutmoy and you know, and her spawn and all that. But there's I think there's like maybe 10 years between the first time the temple was brought down. But as written, if you look at the timeline, there's like rumors coming out of Hamlet,
right,
in that region.
Yeah, and that's actually, I think, intentional because in Dragon 46, Lawrence Schick wrote that parts are intentionally vague so you can put your own stories into this. If they documented the history post Temple of Elemental Evil, what's the point in playing the game?
Plus, they always had intention of publishing that, so they wanted to keep that until it was published. But
Right.
you bring up the points, like I think that's one of the beauties of the box set and the folio to a certain degree as well. They just gave a DM enough information. You're going to be talking about that.
Right. It gets you to a point where you have a world that can feel real, but not so bogged down in continuity that there's no room to play.
Right. Yeah, it's like it's set up to where, if you look at if you look in the each section about each kingdom within the, like, I'm just going to pick right here, just the independent town of Highfolk gives the name of who's the ruler, the population, any demi-humans and humanoids and resources, and there's like 2 paragraphs, a little more than a paragraph about the town of Highfolk, and it's mostly about how much is, like, what kind of troops it has.
Right.
You don't need much.
No, it's very basic, so you can craft it into your own. And
Right.
unlike some later settings that got so developed, you almost felt hobbled by the history. If you had someone that was playing with someone in your group that was a big, like, Forgotten Realms fan, and they know every bit of lore, that's a mess. I think the best games when it comes to using, like, licensed properties like Greyhawk, or if you're playing Marvel or Star Wars, when you have a base knowledge of the universe, but not that minute detail, because then you can get hung up on it.
Yeah.
And you know why? You got to think of it also as the separation between player knowledge and character knowledge. What do the characters really know?
What are the... Whoa. Somebody fall?
Like, somebody's...
I was being attacked by a cat.
Oh,
I was going to
okay.
say, was that a cat?
Yes, it was.
One thing I really liked about Greyhawk at the time was that it was very sandbox-ish, because there wasn't a lot of stuff out for it, but there was enough that a DM can look at it and say, all right, I want to put my adventures here and here, and it's not interrupting anything that I've read here or there. So
Right.
that was one of the good things that I liked that over Forgotten Realms. Forgotten Realms had a lot of information, so
Almost
like,
too much.
yeah. So like you're saying, Nick, when you went to play these games and, like, say you're playing in Waterdeep, and then you get this one guy, well, I read in the book that this guy did that, so actually that's not there because it burned down. It's like, I don't give a shit, dude. This is
Right.
my game. But
I mean, I'm looking in the 83 box set here. The largest kingdom, the Great Kingdom,
yeah.
the largest portion of the map. If you read the description on the Great Kingdom, it gives a section in the name of the leader, the capital, population, some stuff about demi-humans, humanoids, the resources, and 3 paragraphs. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all there is. And
Yeah.
that's all you need to start.
Right. Because I think also when you have that long, elaborate history and backstory and where you need all of this game knowledge to even start, that's daunting to the new player as well. They're not going
The
to
devil
read...
is in the details, right?
Right. Whereas a lot of what we now consider tropes were actually started in Greyhawk.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of our gaming tropes of you go through the dungeon, you take the stuff, and it all started when
Right.
this was first written. It wasn't a trope. It was new.
Yeah.
There was the thing about an element of mystery and exploration and discovery that was put into these books, and probably to a certain degree into the modules that are tied into the larger world, that it really took, I wouldn't say an effort, but it took a good DM with a good imagination. If he wanted to fill in details, he could do it. If he didn't want to, then he didn't have to.
Right.
Dude, is it going to be a huge thing if they leave a particular town and they never found out the name and the owner of the tavern in the town? Probably not.
Nope.
Does it matter in the grander scheme of things? No. Unless you have some sort of side quest going to happen. I don't know. But the point is, is what is it? There's another old saying when it comes to writing is was it too much details like the hobgoblin of in the minds, something like that. But it's just like sometimes too much detail is just too much, and then you feel like it's just going to all fall apart like a house of cards.
Right.
Yeah, too many cooks
It's
spoil the
restricting
soup.
to creativity because it's already written out.
Right.
Too many.
That whole idea of mystery, exploration, and discovery
Yeah.
is all part of the whole thing, and that's why I love it so much, because I'm like, wow, this gives me a lot of versatility as a DM. When I really wanted to, and where I took the leap from, running a campaign that was years ago was like very much, I was so much into details to the point I was like, I'm just going to, here's the city, here's the dungeon, go.
Yeah.
Whatever happens. I'll throw out some nuggets to you, and I'll see what you grasp onto, and we'll just go from there. See what the hell happens.
Right.
And I loved it, because it actually for me as a DM made it easier. I love sandboxing now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because you could just look at the map and you could see it's a fleshed out world, but at the same time, there's so many areas where you could I could just plop a city here and be and start my own thing and never touch anything else going on in the greater world. Or if you have someone that is familiar with Greyhawk, you could plop them in Greyhawk and work from there.
yeah,
I mean, you can throw them the little Easter eggs of they'll get this reference, reference, and they'll pop. It's like if all of a sudden you hear people in the game start referencing like Bigsby or Otto or Mordengaden.
you're like, ooh, oh,
Right.
that guy,
Right.
right?
These are
Or
all
Sir
characters.
Robilar, or some other names. I mean,
Tensor and
Tensor, Aya's the Old, who runs his own kingdom.
right.
I mean-
You hear whispers of of this evil Vecna.
Yes, stuff like that.
So
And that was one of the beautiful things when I ran my campaign. It's like, as whoever was making their character from wherever they were, I'm like, here's what you know, and this is all you know. This is all you're from, like some backwater, like town in the middle of, Podunk, in this, this part of the kingdom. This is the only thing you know. You've never even been to the great city of Greyhawk, the jewel of the Flanays, as it was known. And so it's like, this is all you know. You know about where you're from. You've heard rumors here and there. That's it.
Mhm.
Everything else is unknown to you. So I think that also gives a lesson to, a good DM leaves some mystery and exploration to it. Not everybody has to know everything.
right.
So I asked everybody online via our Facebook page what they thought, because I just want to get some opinions of, the fans listening out there and people that follow our Facebook page, what they thought good material would be for Greyhawk to say, like a new person said, "Hey, GM Nick, could you help me with some Greyhawk stuff?" And then Nick would be like,
I would be happy to.
exactly. He would do it in a manly voice and say, "Of course I'd help you."
Kiss my hand.
Kiss my ring. I am a dungeon master of the 12th circle.
Floss my toes. Bah.
Well, the first thing that I noticed, other than the few things that we recommended already, was the Greyhawk supplement from OD&D. Supplement 1. Someone had recommended that as a possible source because it was out at the time, and it might have been hard to get. I'm not sure exactly how it was back then as far as getting the little brown books and things like that.
They were reprinted.
Yeah.
Even in the mid 80s. I know there was reprints still out there. I just never bought them.
Yeah, neither did I. I have them now for collection wise, but I never saw a reason to get them.
I know
beyond...
I got a PDF version of those.
You got a PDF for that?
Yeah, I get it right there. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That was from David Crawford, who suggested that book. And I think probably the best summing up that I've seen out of all the comments was by Hans Cummings, who said, basically he suggested a bunch of modules and like Against the Giants, Secret of Bone Hill, the Slave Lord series, things like that. But he said officially in the first edition era of Greyhawk, it was very much a DIY affair. So I think that was a good sum up of Greyhawk there. But there's a couple more things like GreyhawkOnline.com is a perfect example of a place you can go visit for research. Cannon Fire, like we said already. Some people had...
You know what?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Maybe it's coincidence. You said DIY, do it yourself.
Right.
Look at the time that this was coming about.
Yeah.
Late 70s going into the early 80s.
Yeah.
What was like another DIY kind of creative thing that was coming out?
Bob Ross.
Music industry too.
Oh, sorry.
Punk rock.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if there's a weird correlation to that. Maybe there's some overlap, but this whole idea of getting away from like what's mainstream and doing it yourself, making it your own. I think there might be some correlation there. I don't know. It just seemed like when you said DIY, I'm like, wow, punk was a lot like that when it came out.
True.
Just weird. Popped in my head. Don't mind me. I'm insane.
Some people suggested, Christopher suggested the Shady Dragon Inn supplement. I don't remember Shady Dragon.
I think that's second edition.
Yeah. X1, the Hearthstone, maybe. Because and Expedition to Barrier Peaks.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
no,
that's
Shady Dragon Inn was a basic module. That's right.
That was a basic one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, yeah, Expedition Barry Peaks, so much fun.
Alex Kammer, I think that's how you pronounce his name. I recognize the name, but I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. Sorry about that, Alex. Despite the surprising financial success of the module sales, the company never set out to publish adventures and expressly said so. So TSR never got a handle on the demand for lore and the setting materials for Greyhawk in the 1E era. This was a good deal of stuff published. There was a good deal of stuff published post 1988 or so, but that's not really 1E pure stuff. So that's another good sum up of things so far.
Yeah.
And then some people recommended the Greyhawk book, which we had already spoke about, and then of course we got someone saying Dragonlance, but
Hey, it could be a pocket universe in Greyhawk.
It could. And then some people said
condemn people to hell. Oh, did I say that?
Oh.
And then we have Appendix N, the reading guide and the DMG you could use for inspiration for
absolutely.
running adventures.
3 Hearts, 3 Lions.
I mean, we got about close to 30-something comments on this one little post asking about what would you recommend to somebody if they wanted Greyhawk, and this is what people responded. So, we did pretty well with getting some engagements with the post, so we appreciate that and thank all the people that responded. Heading over to our email, we're going to pull out this one email. rfistaff@gmail.com is our email address for correspondence to the Roll for Initiative podcast. We have this one email that I'm pulling out of the group here from James V. West, or JV West. Everybody, you might be familiar with his name. He's a artist that does his own modules and does his own artwork. Oh. You've probably seen his stuff all over the place. He did Black Pudding.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's great fanzine. Love that.
Yeah, it's awesome. He speaking about us doing the cartoon episodes. He's catching up. He's having a lot of fun going down memory lane and things like that. He said that he turned 13 when the show came out, literally the same month. And his 13...
He's 13?
When the show came out? Yeah.
Oh.
The D&D cartoon. The D&D cartoon.
Oh, okay. I'm going to say, holy cow.
No. He was 13 when the D&D cartoon came out because he says the show, so we're referencing the cartoon here.
Okay. Sorry.
And he's basically said his 13-year-old sarcastic self did a lot of eye rolls over all the stuff in the cartoon because he felt that basically the cartoon was given to people who had no clue what D&D was really about, and they were just doing a lot of, hey, this guy looks cool with a hat, we'll give him some magical things he could pull out. Hey, this guy has, he's a thief, we'll give him the ability to go invisible. Or this guy, has a magic bow. All right, he could be the leader and he'll solve all problems by damaging everything, but his bow never hurts anybody. Things like that. So he was just commenting on how, he felt that it really wasn't. It didn't do the show justice, which it really didn't. It was just kind of capitalizing on the success of the whole era and the...
Yeah, it was capitalizing on the brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, really, if you think about it, it's Gilligan's Island, the fantasy version of Gilligan's Island.
No, Skipper! Oh, sorry.
Gilligan!
Because they're always teasing, we're going to get home, we're going to get off that island. They get teased there, oh, we can't get off the island.
Well, and that was the whole time where, like, Gary was out in L.A. and having a good time out there.
You know what? I
trying to basically multi. I want to say, you want to go across different platforms. You want to get beyond the game. You wanted to like merchandise it.
I still have a feeling that Gary was just like, yeah, okay, yeah. And they were, no, this doesn't look right. We don't care, Mr. Gygax. Go back to your office and go back to your house over there in Beverly Hills and leave us alone. Go smoke some sniff some coke.
Whoa! Hey, you cannot confirm nor deny that, sir.
I think we have some confirmation on that.
Yeah, we probably do.
I think I had an episode with Buzz Dixon that kind of alluded to all that, so...
Yeah, that's true. Well,
but it was that time frame, and people did that type of thing all the time, sniffing and snorting. So, whatever. I still love Mr.
I could go
Gygax.
someplace with that, but
Stop it.
I just sorry. I'll behave. Trying to behave.
Behave, young man.
I'm reining it in.
Reining in.
Uh-huh.
Are you a little
Keeping sarcastic comment inside?
Are you a little verklempt at this moment?
No, I'm just snorting cocaine off a hooker's tits. That's all.
Oh, jeez, Nick.
What? She's not dead.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine.
Oh, you're not Ben Affleck. Got it.
What's the problem?
We're fine. So anyway, that's a little bit of like a primer of Greyhawk for you fans out there that are really interested in Greyhawk and want to know more. We gave you some, as Greyhawk is a DIY, this is a primer, which is a DIY itself. We're giving you the seeds. We're giving you some information. We want you to take it from there and build your campaign to what you feel should be your world, because that's what Greyhawk is really about.
Right.
And while you could read all the modules and look at all the material through 2nd edition, 3rd edition, and whatever fan material is made out there, it's still going to be your world. So don't worry about it. I feel like I'm doing Jerry Springer's final thoughts here or something.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, though? Just to kind of give you my feeling, like every time I ran my game...
We didn't ask.
We
didn't ask.
Okay, fine.
No, go ahead, Nick. I'm sitting. Okay.
Fine.
Go on, Nick.
Go ahead.
Give me your thoughts.
Well, every time I ran my Castle Greyhawk campaign, it always felt
Cool.
like I was. I always personally felt like I was doing Gary justice. I felt like I was. This is what he kind of intended. He gave the basics there, but it was up to the DM to kind of fill it out to make it his own.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
But still feeling like that your game world is still kind of part of his in some fashion. I remember many a game night coming back like, man, that was awesome. Everybody had a great time. Everybody was just a good fight here and there with monsters, but some great NPC interaction, all this stuff. It was just all the elements of a good session were there, and I think part of that was because how he set up that game world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's make it your own Greyhawk. That's what it was intended to be. We're all not playing in the same Greyhawk, and that's okay.
So
and that's okay.
Finish it up by saying, "Make Greyhawk great again."
Gonna make Greyhawk great again.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna build a big wall around Greyhawk, and we're gonna kick all the 2nd edition people out.
Gonna build a wall around the Scarlet Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Make sure those damn monks don't get out of there.
And we're going to build a wall around all of Greyhawk so none of the 2nd edition people can bring their worst people into our game. Kick them out with their bad material. None of that Gygax, non-Gygax material. All right.
But what are we going to do about all those pocket portals that let people in?
We don't acknowledge them. We don't care. We're going to spend 5 billion gold, and we're going to get it. It's done. And Matt, you fired.
You're fired.
Anyway, that's going to be our show. Head over to RFIpodcast.com. I couldn't think of our website. Wow.
Whoa.
Brain fart.
Yeah. Facebook.com/RFI Podcast. Head over on Twitter. I am the Evil DM. Matt, you are DGen X, I believe, right?
Yes, I am.
And Nick, you are nobody because you don't use Twitter at this point.
I don't use Twitter. I think it's for the devil.
Ooh.
So in other words, the smart one.
Yeah.
Twitter for the devil.
Head over to my YouTube channels, youtube.com/c/theevildm, and you can see all the 1E videos I've been doing there. Idols and Efreeti is the name of the show that I've come up with for my 1E stuff. Doing a bunch of superhero stuff there as well for Marvel and for DC. So I'm doing a little bit of everything, dipping my beak into all this stuff.
Multitasking.
Yeah. That's how it really works in the world of
Jeez,
YouTube.
I can't do that at all.
And that's pretty much it. You can contact us those ways, or just send us an actual email, or you can send us I wonder if Jason still has that address for us with the PO box. Remember we had that, Matt?
Oh yeah, the one in New York.
Yeah.
The one that.
New York.
The one that actually got used as TSR Games mailing address.
Oh, is that what it became?
My God.
Okay.
That's kind of how we figured out when TSR Games was happening. Actually, when I happened to look at it and be like, "Oh, I matched the address."
Oh dear.
I think we got all of one physical letter the entire time we had that PO box.
Yeah, I remember the one letter.
I don't remember what it was about, though. Whatever.
It was way, way back.
Yeah. It was way back in like volume 1 or whatever. So, with that said, we're going to say keep it original, keep it old school, and good night, everybody.
Roll for initiative.